Welcome to the Blast Zone, the podcast where we dig up the bombs that shook Hollywood and try to find out why they went up in flames. This week, buckle up, Buckaroo. This is the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension. Welcome to the Blast Zone.
Welcome to the Blast Zone.
We are not a podcast about bad movies. We are a podcast about movies that did badly.
That's right.
I am Jon Drake, in-house film critic of my Letterboxd account.
And I'm Ian Dukes. I'm a person with thoughts and feelings, and some of them are about movies.
Movies like The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension. But before we get into that, Ian, how are you doing this week?
Well, I got a tiny bit of good news. Over Thanksgiving, I spent a week visiting family, which in itself was a very nice thing. But man, did I eat so much food, so much dessert especially. I was eating banana bread for breakfast with chocolate chips and pumpkin loaves, pumpkin cream cheese pinwheels.
You do love a sweet treat. I know this about you.
I love a sweet treat. And when they're just, it was every meal, every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I had some kind of treat. And yet I got home fearing the worst, stepped on the scale, kind of the exact same weight as when I left. I got a little magical reprieve somehow. I made it through basically act one of the holidays.
You get a redo.
Yeah, I get to start over. So we'll see how I do. I may not hold up on that track record through Christmas, but that's kind of reassuring.
Yeah, it's great to hear. I did not weigh myself post-Thanksgiving, but somehow I doubt the same could be true because unlike me, you don't have 8 to 12 beers on Thanksgiving.
That's true.
No, I'm kidding. I only have 5.
Yeah, just a few small beers.
A few small beers. That's all. More on that later. Eagle-eyed listeners will probably hear the extra nasally inflection in my voice, and then they'll look at their calendars and say, oh, this makes sense because it's between the months of November and March. Therefore, I am sick, like I am every year. And I was sick the last time we recorded, which was damn near a month ago. I don't think it's the same sickness. I think I got better for like 4 or 5 days.
Ooh.
And then it just came right back and got me again. So
that's a small window of health. I'm sorry to hear. But your prediction came true. You were pretty much like, from here on out, I'll be sick. Yeah. And you weren't wrong.
Self-awareness is key above all else. So that's what I'm working with. It was also 6 degrees when I woke up this morning. Not like a fun Kevin Bacon way, just the temperature.
Just a cold one.
So that's where I'm at right now. We already had to bust out the snowblower once this year.
So I guess you're breaking the trend. You've been telling everybody that it doesn't snow in Connecticut anymore, but I think they've been saying that this year it's going to go back to the old ways.
The fucking farmers and their almanac seem to think this is going to be a very snowy winter. And early December is pretty early for snow.
Okay.
So yeah, I tend to agree with them this time. But they're fucking farmers and they fired all the meteorologists. So who knows? We're just flying blind here.
Good luck. Good luck with all that. The cold, the snow, the health. So hope we get through this long, cold winter.
Thank you. And speaking of long, cold winter, when you were huddled up under some blankies in sunny Los Angeles, did you happen to watch anything you wanted to share with the listeners?
I watched something super fun. It's Begonia.
Wouldn't say that. It was fun, I guess.
It was fun for me. It's the brand new movie from director Yorgos Lanthimos and from star/producer Emma Stone, who have now collaborated on 4 really good movies together.
You're a Yorgos head.
I'm kind of a Yorgos head. I'm a fan of his movies. I hope he gets to keep cranking them out like this because basically every year he gives us one weird, uncomfortable, wondrous, shocking, funny, evocative new movie. And this one is no exception. It's just as bug shit as anything that he's done. And I really liked it. For me, it delivered the complete package that I want from a movie. It's got a story that draws you in right away. The characters are boldly drawn. They're compelling. The scenes are electric. Scene work is, I feel like, a underappreciated aspect of telling a story. And then, of course, it has this sci-fi genre stuff in it too, which I'm always drawn to. So it was like the full package. Emma Stone was super good in it. Jesse Plemons was just incredible. It's funny to me that he's got basically one of Hollywood's most charming and likable faces, and he keeps proving that he can play the most fucked up dudes, which he does again here. And I wanted to shout out a young actor named Aidan Delbus.
So good in this.
Yeah, he prefers to be described as autistic himself, and he plays a neurodivergent character in the movie that I thought was really effective. I just was like, that was another layer to the movie, what he brought to it. So I don't want to spoil anything about the story because it just got to VOD in the last week or so. It's definitely the kind of plot that's best to go in not knowing anything and just let the movie unfold it for you. So I hope more people get to watch it and discover it for themselves.
Yeah, and I was just looking it up while you were speaking. I also watched Begonia in between The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and this episode and said, boy, was that unpleasant, but I liked it all the same. But it lost money. It made $38 million on a $55 million budget.
Damn.
So we could talk about it if we like. But yeah, big shout out to everyone involved. Emma Stone Stone and Jesse Plemons. It's a very small cast. Plemons is doing something like he's played shitheads before, like you said, Todd on Breaking Bad, or Judas and the Black Messiah was another like great shitbag performance from him, but never like impotent rage the same way he does in this movie.
He's so mad.
He's so angry. Like,
and it's really real. Like when he goes off in those scenes, you're like, oh shit, that man is angry.
Yeah, that's like a gear I've never seen him quite tap into. So that was really cool. And you're leaving out, there's only like 5 people in this movie, really. And you're leaving out the Joe Rogan of the left, Stavros.
That's right.
Stavros Halkias has got not a sizable role, but more than a cameo.
And sort of a comic relief. Like he's, of all the characters, he's
very fucked up at the same time.
He's the lightest, but yeah, he has something bad is going on there that he never quite explains. But yeah, he's really cool in it too.
Really good movie. And maybe we will get a chance to talk about it more in depth. We've never covered a Yorgos movie on the pod.
Oh yeah, it's about time.
I suspect that most of his movies qualify. So we'll have our pickings, but glad to hear you liked it. I mean, I had no doubt you would, because that's kind of your dude.
I mean, I kind of doubted, because even though it's only been a year between the last 3 or 4 movies that he did, I keep forgetting what it is I like about him. His movies are weird. They kind of freak you out.
All right, Michael McDonald. Keep forgetting.
I keep forgetting. Not in love with Yorgos anymore. And
things will never be the same again.
And then they are. Then the movie starts and I'm like, oh, I remember why I love this guy.
I'll have to do my Michael McDonald impression when I'm not sick and see if being sick makes it better or worse.
Oh, yeah.
Was it solid?
It works for me.
All right. I like it. So you watched a critically acclaimed movie starring one of our faves. I watched a critically acclaimed movie starring one of our faves. Ian, you would say we're fans of Joel Edgerton, right?
Absolutely.
We even have a term for watching a Joel Edgerton movie. We call it edging.
Oh, yeah.
We love edging. We do it all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do.
It's great. I mean, you could spend hours edging and it feels like you're always just leading up to something even greater at the end.
And the thing about this movie that I watched, Train Dreams, is like I kept starting it over right when it was about to finish, because I was like, I don't want this to be over. It's so good. But all jokes aside, I watched Train Dreams. This is the movie we've been waiting for years, because I think it means our boy is finally going to get an Oscar.
Oh, wow.
When you were like, I'm going to bring Begonia for show and tell, is that okay? Because I know you watched it too. Do you want to bring it? And I was like, I'm bringing Train Dreams. And I cannot think of 2 more dissimilar movies than Begonia, which is just a nihilistic journey into hell, basically. Yeah. And Train Dreams, which is just a contemplative tearjerker about the ever-marching wheel of time and the beauty and the mundanity of life.
So it's not actually about edging. We can clarify that. It's much more serious.
We're being silly.
Traditional movie.
It's not a small cast because he's working as a logger in the Pacific Northwest. So it's kind of a rotating cast. There are some guys that pop up on multiple jobs, and there are some guys that are one and dones. Like Paul Schneider, who is an actor I'm pretty fond of, and a guy you would definitely recognize his face, if not his name, is like in just a handful of shots, just in the background for most of it. And then he has one pretty memorable scene. Like William H. Macy is in it for more or less one sequence, but gives just a fantastic performance. And throughout it all, our boy Joel is just tapping into the deep wells of sadness that I thought were always just below the surface of his acting. Playing like a very simple guy, but not like a dullard or anything, but just a guy who loves his family and is trying to make a living and make a life for himself in this world. And the world keeps changing and keeps confusing him and leaving him behind in new and painful ways.
Wow.
It's a magnificent performance and one of the most beautiful movies you'll see too, because the Pacific Northwest, I know you're a fan of that part of the world and
the whole genre
up there
of the Pacific Northwest.
It opens with just a really inventive shot of a tree being cut down and the camera's at the top of the tree.
Oh,
just cool stuff like that, made on a shoestring budget, but with a lot of really well done effect shots. It just needs to be seen by everybody, I think.
Okay. Despite how much I also enjoy Joel Edgerton's work, this feels like a little bit like a vegetable movie, you know, like, oh, you got to eat your broccoli. This one's good for you. May not be exciting or fun, but it's very wholesome and seriously dramatic in an old-timey way. Am I being unfair to characterize it that way?
I would say no, you're not being unfair, but it's like there are vegetables and then there are vegetables, right? Like you can have a little crudité of carrots and celery and that's vegetables, but then you can have just the most delicious roasted squash and sweet potatoes seasoned just right and cooked to perfection, like all vegetables. But there are Oscar bait vegetable type movies, but then there are the examples that kind of made that formula a winning formula for movies. And this is one that I think is going to reinforce what's good about those type of movies rather than be an also-ran.
That's cool. Okay, that sounds very heartening. Maybe it's just my dopamine inadequacy. I feel like I need to take a shot of something to get excited about this movie, but I think I'll get there.
It was interesting because like my brain is as riddled with ADHD as anybody, but I didn't find myself really checking my phone for a movie that's not action-packed or very kinetic at all.
That's a great sign.
I'll check my phone watching like the Bourne movies. I don't care, but I couldn't take my eyes off my boy Joel.
Okay, well now I'm excited.
Let's move on to a movie that you don't request a lot of movies.
No. You're
usually just like whatever you want to do is fine, but you did request Buckaroo Banzai. And I thought maybe you could give us just a little backstory about when you first saw the movie and how it impacted your life.
Yeah, it's fun to have a movie that I can actually even just say, hey, I saw that one before. I don't think I saw this in the theater. I probably would have rented it. Was this like early VHS rental days? I'm not sure how I saw it, but I remember it made a big impact on me in all kinds of ways. I just thought it was the coolest thing. I thought Buckaroo was cool. I thought his white Strat was awesome. I always wanted a white Strat after that. And maybe like even his exposing me to the idea that you could be both a musician and a scientist. And my dad was a scientist, and I decided after that I could become a musician. And so,
hey, friend of the pod, Ron, is both as well.
He's a little bit of both too. So he's kind of a Buckaroo. But yeah, I'm not sure how much that it really shaped my life that way, but it did have an impact style-wise, quoting lines from it. And I'm happy to say that watching it again all these years later, it was the first time in many decades that I watched it again. It still holds up. It's not like a big grand achievement type of movie, but it's really unique, really fun, big premise, a ton of little charms in it. And basically I couldn't find anything to complain about in this movie, which is super rare for me. It was a real treat to dig into it and rediscover Buckaroo again.
This is the rare occasion where you've seen a movie and I pretty much had never even heard of this movie till you told me about it.
That's cool.
So I had my hackles up a little bit in the very early stages of this movie because it's a weird movie. It's a weird, quirky, cheesy movie, but it almost immediately charmed me and won me over to its side. It didn't hurt that Jeff Goldblum is literally like in the opening scene of the movie, which I'm a big fan of his. I've made that clear on the pod before, but if you're a new listener, just gotta clear the air there.
Yeah.
Just a breezy watch. And I was like, I hope this doesn't wear off the second time I watch it because I like this feeling. I like the way this movie's making me feel, like optimistic and happy.
Yeah.
And then even more so the second time around, like I see why it's a highly rewatchable movie. I can't quite put my finger on what about it that makes it so fun to revisit, but it hits even better the second time.
It's quite dense. I would say the plot is almost a little too complicated, where even though I had seen it and I was familiar with the different aliens in it, it took me until really studying a second watch to really nail down what was going on in the plot at each point. This spacecraft lands. Whose craft is that? Oh, that's those guys' craft. So why are those guys driving over to it? Oh, they do explain it. Like it's got a lot of little sci-fi action plot details in it that are hard to pick up. But also, if the movie charms you, that gives you new bits of clarity to discover on multiple watches, which is rewarding. The humor is very subtle. I laughed twice as much on my second watch as I did in the first one because there's so many jokes that are
very
deadpan
subtle
or go under the radar. And then I'm like, oh shit, that was funny. But that guy just said I didn't even hear it before. And the cast is super deep. So there's all these cool performances and actors that you can latch onto at different times and really get something out of. It's just kind of cute. The idea is kind of dumb in ways, but it's cute that they tried it and then they pulled it off how they did.
The whole persona of Buckaroo Banzai is like what a 12-year-old boy would imagine his life would be like. He's like,
exactly.
He hangs out with his friends all the time and they're all rocket scientists and brain surgeons and rock stars. And there's pretty ladies. They're the most famous, wealthy, successful, loved people in the world. And it's just a rocking good time all the time.
He's just way too cool for school. He's very kind. He's very thoughtful.
Everybody loves him except for the electroids.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Lectroids?
Lectroids from Planet 10. Got to worry about those guys.
Yeah, they're not great.
Another thing in the plot, like there's a bunch of backstory about who the aliens are, and there's two factions of Lectroids, the red ones, the black ones, which ones are good. And like the different characters learn about them in different ways at different times. So they're catching each other up on it. Buckaroo's like, how did you know? He knew because he got zarked through a phony phone call by the good guys. And the other ones looked it up somehow and figured it out. And it's like, there's a lot of that going on. So all of that can be overwhelming on a first watch. And yet it's all these cool, fun characters and great actors on screen, so you go with it, even if you're not picking up all those little details.
Yeah, and the movie's so good-natured in its approach to not just humor, but like exposition, because like you said, every character gets a chance to shine in some way. Like they have some revelation that they can share with the rest of the group. And it's not just like Buckaroo dominates everybody and they're all like, compared to like Lord of the Rings, which I know is kind of a funny comparison, but at least in the movie versions of these characters, like characters that don't really do much in the early stages and are just like there to cause problems. And it's frustrating because they're being used for like comedic relief. But here, everybody gets a chance to show their own skill set and has something to contribute.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit unique because it starts in the middle. There's no getting the gang together or getting...
It's not an origin story, yeah.
Yeah, it's not getting the gang back together. There's no rounding up the troops and coaxing them out of retirement. It's just like you're step in the middle of this, and it's got this fun family atmosphere, right? Because these guys are really close buddies. They're like a family, and there's enough detail spread around the movie, both in the way the characters interact, respect the look and feel of the world that they're in, that it feels really real. So it feels very comforting to come home and go, oh yeah, this is the Hong Kong Cavaliers. I love these dudes. That's that one. He's my favorite. I like the outfits that one wears. And you kind of instantly find yourself being a fan of this thing that doesn't exist.
And fun fact, Peter Weller kind of dresses like Buckaroo Banzai in his everyday life now. If you see him on the con circuit, now as a 70-something-year-old man is dressed like Buckaroo Banzai in this movie.
Good for him.
A lot of ascots. He's very ascot heavy.
That's cool. That's easier than dressing as RoboCop, so you got to pick one.
Peter Weller, interesting dude, interesting career. We're going to have to get into that at the end of the episode because he's done some swerves in his career. Do you want to get into the making of this movie? It kind of had not a tortured production, but certainly one with some stories.
Clearly, when you see this movie, you go what is the story behind this? Where did it come from? So please let us know how this thing happened.
All right. In the summer of 1984, a film arrived that seemed less like a mainstream studio project and more like a transmission from a parallel timeline. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension opened on August 10th, 1984, with a modest budget of $17 million and a box office return that looked like a clerical error.
Don't be mean. We don't have to be mean.
The movie closed its theatrical run at about $6.3 million, a financial story that Hollywood account departments would later describe with phrases like catastrophic performance and please never do this again.
Not for while you can, monkey boy.
The project began with director W.D. Richter, a screenwriter with a long track record of intelligent and eccentric genre work. After years spent writing films like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and the 1979 Dracula, Richter stepped behind the camera for the first time. He and writer Earl Mac Rausch spent years shaping the world of Buckaroo Banzai, combining adventure, comic book logic, neuroscience, kung fu, particle physics, and surreal comedy. Rausch had been telling Richter about a character named Buckaroo Bandy during long dinners. Richter and his wife eventually paid him $1,500 to turn the idea into a script. What followed took a year and a half. Characters changed species, entire concepts mutated. The lepers became lizards who eventually became lectroids from Planet 10. A Writers Guild strike added another year of delay, and MGM lost interest. Producer David Begelman left the studio and purchased the script himself on the way out. The project was rescued at 20th Century Fox, which agreed to finance it even though no one could clearly summarize what the film was actually about. Casting became an adventure of its own. Peter Weller met with Richter and tried to decode the tone of the film. Weller asked the right questions. Was this camp? Was it cartoon logic? Or was it something stranger or more grounded? Richter insisted on an actor who would look like a neurosurgeon one moment and a pulp hero the next. Weller eventually accepted despite still not being certain what universe he was stepping into. John Lithgow stepped in as Dr. Emilio Lizardo because Rausch had written the role specifically with him in mind. Lithgow hesitated until Richter convinced him that the part was a rare chance to play a mad scientist who behaved as if possessed by the ghosts of a malfunctioning radio tower. Ellen Barkin described the entire movie as if Terry Southern had written Star Wars. Christopher Lloyd joined the cast as John Big Booty. Jeff Goldblum showed up in red cowboy gear as New Jersey, a state where there are no cowboys.
Gabagool, over here.
The supporting cast assembled like a convention of lovable oddballs. Production designer J. Michael Riva shaped the visual identity of the film by rejecting the metallic starship aesthetic popular in the early 80s. Instead, he drew from seashells, medical journals, and Russian history. The red lectroid look was inspired by a lobster worn on his own nose. The result was a film where nothing looked like a familiar prop and everything seemed imported from the last time the universe glitched. Production was also chaotic. Cinematographer Jordan Cronenworth was replaced halfway through by Fred J. Konekamp, although Cronenworth's nightclub sequence remained in the film.
This is New Jersey. When you play my joint, you're just another act.
Producer David Begelman constantly interfered during the early stages of filming, and the crew eventually suspected that he had stopped paying attention. To test their theory, they filmed a scene that revolves around a watermelon sitting in a laboratory clamp. When no one questioned it, they figured they had complete freedom.
Why is there a watermelon there?
That freedom did not translate to box office success. The film opened on just 236 screens and competed with blockbusters like Star Trek III, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and Ghostbusters. It was swallowed up instantly.
I hate this. I like to torture them.
And what followed was even stranger. The film developed a cult audience that grew steadily every year, eventually becoming a staple of home video and science fiction conventions. The reputation of the cast also grew. Peter Weller would go on to iconic work in RoboCop and build a long career in film and television. Lithgow became an institution with multiple Emmy and Golden Globe wins, and Ellen Barkin continued to anchor film and television projects for decades. Buckaroo Banzai continued as a cult property in comics and print. Moonstone Books revived the character in 2006, and Earl Mac Rausch returned to to write new material, including a 2021 novel. A television revival nearly happened in 2016 under Kevin Smith before legal disputes unfortunately brought it to a halt. 40 years later, the film remains a rare artifact. It's a studio picture that behaves like an indie experiment, it's a science fiction story that rejects clarity, and it's a comedy that refuses to identify its own punchlines.
So what? Big deal.
It's Buckaroo Banzai. It should not work, it barely worked, and it still matters.
It does. It's still beloved. And for a production that was kind of troubled, they were beset by that one producer, Bagelman, who made things more difficult, if you believe what the director has to say. But there's all this documentary footage that was put out, I guess, on a Blu-ray release. It's hard to find, but a bunch of it's on YouTube now.
There was a full-blown documentary made, too.
Yeah, I think that's what these clips are. So I found all these clips on YouTube, and they've got the director, Richter, and they've got one of the producers, and they've got all the actors. So it's really great. And basically, everybody says nothing but glowing things about the movie itself, the experience, the working with the other actors. They're all just so delighted to have been part of this movie.
It comes through on screen, too. It just seemed like everybody's having a great time making this.
Yeah, it's really cool. That adds to the heartwarming charm of it. It's just like such a good, like you said, it's a good-natured movie, and it comes through in every moment.
The most common comp for this movie, and one that I thought of watching it for the first time, is another movie we've covered, Big Trouble in Little China. And wouldn't you know who the screenwriter of Big Trouble in Little China is? But it's W.D. Richter.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah. So there was an original screenplay that was very different, written by Gary Goldman and David Weinstein. No relation, I hope. But then the studio took it, gave it to W.D. Richter, and he basically rewrote it from scratch.
I see.
So a lot of similar tones in this movie, too. And there's not a lot of movies that kind of feel like that.
Yeah, I was going to say it has a sort of comic book reality, but not like a cheap cartoon one. Like for people who like comic books and know what's cool about them, that you can bend the rules, you can use some archetypes, and then you can extend them in surprising ways. Like it has all those good things about what I would say makes it comic book like.
Almost like what Tank Girl should have been and maybe could have been, but didn't quite get there.
Buckaroo Banzai feels like the best graphic novel adaptation that didn't come from a graphic novel.
The graphic novels came after. It fits into that mold so neatly that everybody was just motivated enough to continue in those mediums.
And yet they also came before, because part of the fiction of this world is that there are Buckaroo Banzai comics. There's an ongoing comic book based on Buckaroo Banzai in the world of Buckaroo Banzai. That's the kind of real world hero he is to the people of this story.
Yeah, and one of the interesting tidbits when I was doing my research for this movie was that I guess Earl Mac Roush kept starting scripts about Buckaroo Banzai and abandoning them after like 30, 40 pages. They all featured kind of different wrinkles of the character and different professions he could do and different parts of his backstory that were explored more. So he just kept a running log of all the cool stuff that he came up with in those stories, even though he threw out the main storylines. That kind of became the background of the character, and it really does lend itself to this very lived-in feel that the movie and the universe have.
Yeah, the way the characters move between Buckaroo's various domains of expertise, brain surgery, rocket science, all this stuff. Shredding on guitar and pocket trumpet.
The pocket trumpet.
Which is now one of my favorite jokes in the movie. I didn't get that was a joke. When I was a kid, I'm like, oh, the hero of this movie is shredding on a cool-ass guitar. That's so badass. And then he finishes his guitar solo, and out of nowhere, he whips out this tiny trumpet and continues to shred on the trumpet. And I just was like, oh, he's double cool, but it's actually hilarious the way he pulls it out.
And he does not crack a smile or...
No.
Weller gives nothing away that this is supposed to be funny at any point.
Exactly.
Really.
It took me... I had to grow and mature several more decades until I could get how funny that was, and now it's fantastic to me.
I do think it's interesting how we've also covered Wayne's World 2, which is another movie with a famous white strat in it. Which one do you think utilized the white strat better?
Ooh, I forgot about the guitar in Wayne's World. Is that the one that they like...
No Stairway to Heaven?
Idolize in the store? Yeah.
Yeah, and he finally can buy it.
Yeah, this one, my buddy, who was one of my closest friends at the time in junior high, and my Buckaroo Banzai friend, he was the one who would quote all the lines back to me. His mom got him a white Strat at that time, and I hadn't seen him for a little while. I went over to his house, and I was just like, my jaw was on the floor.
Well, I mean, we're effusively praising this movie and all the actors in it, but should we maybe tell people what happens in it?
Yeah, let's fire up I almost called it the flux capacitor. Let's fire up the oscillation overthruster.
More on that later. Yeah.
Here we go. It's 1984, and Buckaroo Banzai is a modern-day Renaissance adventurer. He's a brain surgeon, a rock star, and a particle physicist. Buckaroo, played by Peter Weller, is surrounded by his close-knit group of bandmates and scientists known as the Hong Kong Cavaliers. Beyond that, he's backed by a larger fan club of plucky cadets called the Blue Blazer Regulars. As the story begins, Buckaroo completes a tricky brain surgery with his friend and colleague, Dr. Sidney Zweibel, played by Jeff Goldblum, then rushes to the desert testing grounds to hop into his jet car. Along with his mentor, Dr. Toichi Hikita, played by Robert Ito, Buckaroo is testing a long-awaited device called the Oscillation Overthruster that will let the jet car drive through solid matter and traverse the eighth dimension. Way back in 1938, a young Dr. Hikita and his colleague, Dr. Emilio Lizardo, played by John Lithgow, worked on an early prototype, but their experiment left Dr. Lizardo deranged by the alien creatures he encountered in the eighth dimension. Today's jet car test is a success, but when Dr. Lizardo hears about it on the news, he kills a guard, escapes his mental asylum, and sets out to steal the overthruster. That night, during a performance by his band, Buckaroo meets a depressed woman named Penny Pretty, played by Ellen Barkin, who turns out to be his late wife's identical twin sister, separated at birth. Later, during a press conference about the jet car experiment, Buckaroo receives a mysterious phone call that delivers an electric shock over the phone line. But rather than being an attack, the electric field is a gift that allows Buckaroo to see through the disguise of the three men in suits who crashed the press conference, played by Christopher Lloyd, Vincent Schiavelli, and Dan Hedaya. The men are actually aliens, and they kidnap Dr. Hikita. So Buckaroo hops on a Harley-Davidson and roars off in pursuit.
Man, action-packed first act. A lot going on.
It changes contexts. It starts, they're in those bubble masks in the operating room doing a really complicated brain surgery, and that's convincing. Like, just the little dialogue that they spit back and forth, I'm like, oh, these guys really know brain surgery.
Yeah, not played for laughs.
No.
I do love that 2/3 of Buckaroo's jobs are just shorthand for really difficult things. Like, it's not brain surgery and it's not rocket science, but like, he does both those things.
He does those things.
They really just set him up to be the most competent man that's ever lived.
And the coolest. I mean, he's so cool. And Jeff Goldblum plays his friend, who's also a very competent brain surgeon, but Buckaroo's the one who's schooling him during this very difficult operation. Don't worry about that. And here's how it really works. And then he just seamlessly, you don't get to see him, but he stitches up the brain of that patient. And suddenly he's on the test track, the dry lake bed, and he's driving 500 miles an hour in a jet car.
Yeah, they didn't have to show us the end of the surgery because they've just set him up to the point where we trust that everything went okay.
Yeah.
We just believe it worked out.
It's all well done. It's well written. And like, this jet car sequence looks a little low budget. Like, when you first watch this movie, you're like, uh-oh, are they going to try something that's way beyond their budget? Because parts of it look cheap, and it's obviously not a big budget special effects movie. But between the small design details that they did include in there, of which there's just tons of cool little details to see, and the smart way it's written, just like interesting little voices come over the PA about what technical systems they're checking and the references that the various guys on the team make, it feels real enough. Like, the whole thing works despite occasionally having a couple cheesy effects.
I think it would be a waste to dump money into the effects budget of this movie, because in 1984, I feel like there was two ways to do effects, and it was spend a ton of money for something that still didn't look that good, or to just kind of lean into the cheese. I guess Ghostbusters was maybe the high bar of effects, but even that, at the time, I think there was people who were like, well, the Zool sequence is a little weak. There are some parts that kind of stand out as subpar. Just the technology wasn't there yet to make this look convincing, so I think they had the right idea to eschew even trying.
Yeah, like, Buckaroo still comes across as badass and cool, whatever slight cheesiness to the way his rocket car looks.
It's an F-350 with a Grand National glued to the front of it and wings. It looks like the fucking Winnebago from Spaceballs.
It's a very funky, hacked together car built by, I guess, some kind of real Southern California car racing team guy.
Yeah, it really drives. It's not a prop, but I don't think it breaks the sound barrier or anything.
No, it probably doesn't. It looks a little clunky. And then when they go through the eighth dimension, half the footage is just like old electron microscope pictures twisting and zooming in on the screen, and then some funny aliens. When the aliens are funny on purpose, they're goofy throughout, and it works.
Definitely. The aliens are full-blown comic relief, I think, for most of the movie.
Yeah.
Which makes a few throwaway lines feel out of place, but we'll get to those later.
Yeah. So I was watching this jet car sequence, and I was like, I'm getting a lot of Back to the Future vibes from this. It's a souped-up car. It's got lots of gadgets. It has to get to this high speed, and then it disappears through a blue beam that it shoots out in front of itself. It's got instrument clusters inside that have a similar triangular design and kind of reminded me of the flux capacitor. This car's got custom license plates like the Out of Time on the DeLorean. This one has Rocket 88 on the license plate. The number 88's meaningful to both movies.
Yeah.
There's a young actor with kind of cheesy wrinkle makeup on his face and neck playing an old professor. That's Christopher Lloyd and Robert Ito. And then Christopher Lloyd's in both movies. He's not the professor in this one, but I'm like, there's too many coincidences here. How does this happen? And then it turns out it's not a coincidence, because one of the main producers, Neil Canton, went on from this and the next year to Back to the Future. He helped bring in Christopher Lloyd to that. He helped bring in some of the designers to work on the DeLorean. So this is almost like a little seed project for Back to the Future, one of the most successful sci-fi comedies ever.
One of my son's favorite, maybe my son's favorite movie.
Oh, that's neat.
He's seen all three of them. He loves them. Although we did just watch The Sandlot, and he liked that one a lot too.
Oh my gosh.
I'm bringing him through all the classics.
Yes.
My wife watched Back to the Future with him. I watched Sandlot and Home Alone with him this week.
Fun.
But I just assumed Christopher Lloyd was like 70 when I was a kid.
Yes.
Because of Back to the Future. I was like, all right, this is an old man. And then I was like, he's still just like the same old man. And I was like, oh, that was prosthetics. But I guess Robert Ito was so committed to getting this role, he auditioned in old man makeup.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was really into it. So he looks convincing as an old guy. I'm sure if you look deeper, you could see the seams, but not bad.
Yeah, no, it totally works. And really, to know Robert Ito, you almost have to be an old timer like me. Like, I watched Quincy, call me Quincy, but I used to watch an old show called Quincy M.E. Jack Krugman, who you might know from The Odd Couple, he became like a serious medical examiner who solved crimes, and Robert Ito played his right-hand guy.
Jack Krugman sounds like a baseball player from the 1940s or like a boxer.
Wait, did I get his name right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Jack Klugman. Sorry, I
think it would be really funny if it was, it's Chester Benningfield.
Oh, yeah, no, Jack Klugman. I'm sorry. It's been a lot of years, man. But he goes back to, him and Tony Randall were the original Odd Couple on TV. But Quincy was like a big thing in the 70s, I guess. I don't know, man.
I've never even heard of it. You're making shit up now.
I'm old.
This is now two episodes in a row where there's shows I'm supposed to believe were a big deal in the 60s and 70s with The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and now Quincy that I just never fucking heard of.
It's something that people, after a certain age, the only way you would know that is probably there's some obscure Simpsons reference when they mention it. How else are you supposed to learn about the past but through cartoons?
True. Wise words. Yeah, a lot of Back to the Future vibes in this sequence, but a little bit of Top Gun too, like the way it's all splayed out and Buckaroo goes rogue.
Yeah, there's drama in that scene. Like most of the people there, or at least the third-party people out there, like the Secretary of Defense and the Senator, they think he's doing a speed test, like trying to hit some speed record. That's not at all what he's doing. He's testing the oscillation overthruster, and so he has to peel off and drive straight into the side of a mountain. That's pretty exciting. I felt like the excitement of that first scene was well executed.
Let's talk about Peter Weller as Buckaroo, because he's obviously in just about every scene of this movie. He is the guy, and he is doing such a good job of grounding this movie with his very dry delivery that it makes all the absurdity around him feel more grounded.
It's really an interesting performance. Part of it's just Peter Weller. I think he's that kind of actor who always seems a little bit detached, a little bit...
Well, they did cast him as RoboCop, so there's got to be a bit of a robotic quality to him.
Yeah, he's kind of robotic. He's kind of spooky, but it feels cool for a character like this where it feels like, there's more going on behind his eyes, but he just doesn't like to talk a lot. He's good at making that come across. But it's funny because he's way larger than life in the world of this movie. He not only has all these skills, but he's the head of the Banzai Institute. His home is a big fortified compound with laboratories in it. He's got multiple organizations under his domain, and they all have like logos and stickers and patches and things on hats and jackets and decals, so that really the movie feels really rich and lived in, like you said. And then when you see him, he actually seems small in comparison. And so it's almost like Buckaroo isn't this larger than life character. He's just the guy in charge of the brand, the Buckaroo Banzai brand, very humbly sort of operating it.
And part of that too is like his squad is full of these very peacocky kind of guys.
That's true.
Like Perfect Tommy, played by Lewis Smith, and then you got Rawhide, played by Clancy Brown. These guys are both like 6'4", and Perfect Tommy especially is wearing these very flashy suits. Jeff Goldblum's just dressed like a full-ass cowboy for most of the movie. And it all serves to make Buckaroo stand out for his almost normalcy.
Almost normalcy, but he's got some really cool style elements too. And I have to say, as a young man...
You would say that because you're about to tell us that you used to dress like him. You know who's a really good dresser? That Buckaroo Banzai.
I don't know if I knew it, though. That's how sad it is to be 14. Like in junior high, you don't know what the hell's going on in life. Your brain is so confused. And I was dressing up, but you know what? That's what you could buy at the mall at the time. There was a whole store where you could just dress like either Michael Jackson or Buckaroo Banzai or Sonny Crockett. And I tried to split the difference for all those guys. But to some extent, there is a crossover between Buckaroo and Sonny Crockett. They have very different feels, the New Jersey versus Miami kind of vibes. But they're both wearing like these suits with these incredible textures, seersuckers and tweeds, and then like white wicker shoes. That's very important to the Buckaroo character. And I had a pair of those. I mean, they were plastic. I got the cheapo JCPenney version, but that was a thing.
Were you rolling up the sleeves on your suit jacket and your blazers?
I was. I had some linen blazers that I rolled the sleeves up on in junior high. I'm ready to admit that now.
I wish that would make a comeback. Because I love rolling up the sleeves on the dress shirt, but I want to complete the look.
Yes, you can do that. I do that now with a jacket, with like a button-up shirt and one of those shirt jackets. It's like pretty casual, but you can flip the sleeves up on it and you can get that double folded up look.
Jacket, almost like a flannel?
Not really with flannel, although there are flannel jackets, but the jackets I have are, I don't know what you call that fabric. They're just cotton. They look like heavy work shirts mostly.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of pockets on the front.
This has been Fashion Corner with John and Ian.
Rarely pull out that segment of the show, but we had to, Buckaroo's sake.
I think that's everything I had on Weller. Yeah, we'll talk more about him, obviously, as the episode goes on, because he's so front and center for everything.
Yeah.
But just a really interesting performance, considering that his counterpart is John Lithgow, just doing the absolute most.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's the exact opposite approach to a character. Lithgow's Dr. Emilio Lizardo is so big. That performance, it's so comic book. The accent is ridiculous. The physicality that he walks with, that he moves with, that he mugs his face with is insane.
It's almost like an insect, like he scurries.
And it's justified by the story. He's possessed by this alien. So they talk about it in that documentary. They nod to the fact that like he was trying to represent that he was a sort of excitable Italian scientist who then got inhabited by a space alien that was puppeting his body. And he just goes insane. It's such a performance that you would think any director would be like, you know what, let's just tone it down 2 or 3 notches. But no, they let him go bonkers with it. And it's so fun.
But like the character is tragic in a way, though, because he actually was driven mad through no fault of his own. He was trying to do science. We have to assume that if he was working with Dr. Hikita, that he was on the side of the angels at one point.
Yes.
He just got driven crazy. And like he's abused by the staff at the institution he lives at.
Yes, he's slightly sympathetic up until the point where he kills Jonathan Banks. He's
Yeah, Jonathan Banks is the orderly in this movie, which I was like, I know that voice, but not that head, because Jonathan Banks is a full head of hair, slicked back like a real piece of shit. Now, I just assumed Jonathan Banks was born naked like a mole rat, like fully hairless. But no, he looks kind of like a James Woods vibe going on.
Yeah.
He's definitely a man who a bald head suits.
But I love the look of young Jonathan Banks. And it made me wonder if I'd seen him in something else, because it feels, although it's very different from what we know from Better Call Saul days, it's familiar. It's comforting. Jonathan Banks is a very charismatic actor. And just in one of the really small roles in this movie, that just shows you how deep this cast is.
Yeah, his voice is unmistakable. Once you hear it, you're like, all right. But he was actually in Beverly Hills Cop that same year. He'd already been in Airplane.
Oh, okay.
And then I guess his breakout role was considered Wise Guy. It was a show that ran from 87 to 90.
Huh.
He played an FBI agent looking into the mob.
Wonder if I ever saw that.
Interesting guy, though, because his career had really 2 acts. Like he had his first heyday in the mid 80s to the early 90s, and then he fell out of the spotlight, and then Breaking Bad brought him back in a huge way.
Yeah.
And now he's everywhere. I just watched a show with him on Netflix called The Beast in Me with Claire Danes and Matthew Rhys.
Oh, I've been wanting to check that out.
If you like Claire Danes and Matthew Rhys, it's definitely worth checking out. It's not going to change the world or anything, but they're both put in some really good performances, and Jonathan Banks is great in it.
Nice. He's really fun in this, in a small role. Dr. Lizardo has some of the most quotable lines in this movie. I think the number one line, if you mention Buckaroo Banzai to somebody who's a fan of it, they're going to say, "Laugh a while you can, the monkey boy," because that's just so fun to say. And Banks is the one that Lithgow says that too.
Really is a fun line. And home is where you wear your hat, which home is famously not where you wear your hat. That's where you hang your hat. So
that's how you know his mind is twisted.
Yeah.
That's the subtle clue that you get, and everything else in that scene, all the writing on the walls, the piles of strange books and magazines, and the electrical device that he hooks up to his tongue and starts shocking his memories back.
Yeah, that's how he reminisces. He has to give himself electroshock therapy. Just a delightfully unhinged performance by Lithgow
so
here.
Good.
Really fond of it. And he's not in as much of the movie as I would have expected to. There's long gaps where he's not on screen.
That's true.
So you never grow tired of the kind of over-the-top nature of the performance.
Yeah, then we'll get to him in the third act. He comes back big and strong and more insane than ever. And it's really tour de force.
But I guess Christopher Lloyd is a secondary villain while Lithgow's off screen.
Yes.
John Big Booty.
Big booty.
Let's talk about Ellen Barkin as Penny Pretty.
Okay.
Ayuga. Sorry.
Yeah.
What a babe.
She's a babe. She's a really interesting looking face. And she's so young here. And every time I see her, I'm like, she's weird looking, but she's also so attractive. It's like, I don't know what that is. Like her eyes are way too far apart, but it's somehow
It's the Anya Taylor-Joy thing. Like
it kind of is that, yeah.
She can ward off predators. No, there's a few people in this movie that I didn't know as young actors. Like I knew them as actors, but Ellen Barkin I mostly know from like Ocean's 13.
Okay.
Where she was already, that's 23 years after this. So she's well into middle age at that point. I thought she was a babe then too. But so seeing it, like I did at first, I was like, I know that actor, but what have I seen her in? And then when I discovered who it was, I was like, wow, like this movie is just absolutely jam packed with young, attractive people.
Yeah, it's all hunks and babes. Like
there's no note about Clancy Brown in the first act, so I'll save my words about him for later.
We'll do an auga for him later.
Yeah.
He's just one of many. But yeah, Peter Weller's quite handsome in his young age.
Lewis Smith.
Lewis Smith is, he's perfect.
He's perfect.
Tommy. He's the fashion plate.
Even young Goldblum was serving looks in this movie. He's a little goofier, but by the time like The Fly came around, he was considered a bit of a Hollywood hunk.
He was, yeah. In his nerdy, smart guy way, he was very hunky. Yeah, the Penny Pretty character, it's a really interesting backstory that they gave her, and it's a really very emotional introduction they give her. She's crying. She's suicidal at this Buckaroo Banzai show, but she doesn't seem to even really know who Buckaroo Banzai is. She was just kicked out of her apartment, which happened to be in that neighborhood. She ended up at the club.
I like that Buckaroo immediately clocks that somebody's not having a good time.
Yes.
He's like, is somebody crying in the audience?
He stops the show in the middle of his ripping rock and roll show and brings the energy way down and sings her a ballad to try to cheer her up. But he's already freaking out because what we don't know at the time is she looks exactly like his late wife, Peggy, and he's asking her if she said her name was Peggy. So he's thrown off his game. He's more vulnerable than we had seen him in his first couple scenes where he's doing brain surgery and jet car shit. So it's a really interesting moment in the movie. And all Penny ends up doing is just tagging along. She's one more layer the way the Jeff Goldblum's New Jersey character, he's a guy who Buckaroo just said, hey, will you join my group? So he's like the newest Hong Kong Cavalier, and he's kind of the entry point for us to learn about Buckaroo's world and his extended family. And then Penny is just, oh, you look like my late wife. Oh, you're actually her long-lost twin sister. Why don't you join us too? And then she becomes the damsel in distress. I guess what I'm getting to is her role is a little bit underbaked or underserved. She's great to have in there. I love her combination of fragility and strength that she portrays in it. I like all of it, but it feels like a setup for a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily pay off, except in the very basic. Of course, the two of them are going to be lovers, and then they are.
I was confused when Lizardo starts calling her doctor. Was he just mistaken?
I think so. I think that's just a pure case of he assumed that everybody in Buckaroo's orbit was a professor or a scientist.
All right, that makes sense. I was like, is that like another wrinkle to this character that they're just not going to elaborate on? But then the movie is pretty good at making sense within its own continuity. So I don't think they would have left something like that dangling.
No, but I guess the other reason why I would see why that's confusing is she does show signs of having a brilliant mind, which we didn't expect from her when we first meet her. And she's like a sad drunk girl in a club. She's at the press conference, and she's the one who understands what Buckaroo is explaining about the eighth dimension and says it back to him in a new way. And everyone's like, what's that dumb chick saying? And he's like, no, actually, she's right. So they gave her that characteristic of being Professor Quality Intellect, but maybe that was for a future movie where she actually shows off her science stuff.
In that scene, she is so horny for Buckaroo. And the other main performance I knew her from was Ocean's 13, where she gets super horny for Matt Damon and a fake nose. So she's good at playing horny.
I guess so, yeah.
What I'm saying there.
She oozes sexuality. I would say that's definitely true of her as an actor overall. I feel like I saw her in a couple other movies where she was just a very powerful femme fatale.
The erotic thriller is coming back in a big way. I keep seeing announcements about movies being made that fall into that genre. It went away for a while, but I think it's coming back now.
That's fun.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever really done an erotic thriller on the podcast.
We should try to wrangle one up.
We're going to have to do Jade at some point because that's like a punchline of an erotic thriller with David Caruso.
Okay.
I think we did something from that director. It was a different movie. Hold on. Oh, it was fucking Friedkin, of course.
Oh, okay.
But Jade was an erotic thriller with Linda Fiorentino and David Caruso that David Caruso left Hollywood to make, left TV because he wanted to be a big movie star.
Oh,
and that was like his first movie, and it bombed, and it was really bad apparently. $50 million budget, made 9. How did that movie cost 50 mil? Jeez. Sorry, I'm just having a
That's a lot of
conversation with myself.
eroticism. Yeah.
We know Linda Fiorentino can be erotic from After Hours.
But yeah, I think it didn't after that movie. She said that she regretted being typecast as a sex pot type of character.
Yeah, she did say that. But we haven't seen Jade yet. Maybe she subverts it.
Maybe. We're going to have to check it out.
Oh, no, she originally turned it down because she did not want to play a prostitute, but changed her mind.
There you go.
Once her character was changed through regrets. All right, we're off on a wild tangent right now. I'm deep into a Wikipedia hole in the middle of an episode recording.
You know what? Don't worry about it because no matter where you go, there you are.
It's a great line. And not his line originally, right? That was from something before.
It feels like it, and I looked it up, and the only big reference I could come up with was a guy named John Kabat-Zinn, who's like a pioneer of mindfulness meditation in like the 70s.
It does feel kind of hippy-dippy.
It has that kind of vibe. So I think that was a thing that he used. I don't know if they got it directly from him because he put out a book with a similar title, but that was in the 90s, so when he had already been doing his thing for decades. So did Buckaroo just think of that?
Feels like an idiom that's been around forever. Oh, if they came up with that, good on them because that stands the test of time.
That's the other thing that people will quote to you, that line, if you meet a Buckaroo fan, for sure.
I'm fairly certain I've heard somebody like use that line in conversation, and I just didn't know what it was from. Now I do. You won't slip that by me again. All right. Are we ready for Act 2?
Yeah, let's see what happens next.
In the hills outside of town, Buckaroo catches up to the three aliens as they stop to investigate an unexpected alien landing craft called a thermopod. Buckaroo frees Dr. Hikita and makes an escape with help from a Blue Blaze helicopter pilot. Once back home at the Banzai compound, Buckaroo and friends are visited by John Parker, played by Carl Lumley, an alien who represents the peaceful black Lectroids of Planet 10. John Parker delivers a message from his leader, which explains the whole scenario. The aliens who kidnapped Hikita were Red Lectroids, an evil faction that had been tried for their crimes and imprisoned in the 8th dimension. Now the leader of the Red Lectroids, Lord John Worfen, has taken over the brain of Dr. Lizardo and plans to steal Buckaroo's new overthruster device so he can use it to free himself and all his minions. But the Black Lectroids want to prevent this at all costs. So unless Buckaroo can foil Lizardo/Worfen's plot by sundown, the Black Lectroids will simulate a U.S. missile attack on Russia, provoking a global nuclear war that wipes out the evil Red Lectroids along with the entire planet. Just then, the Red Lectroids attack the Banzai compound. They kill several of Buckaroo's men, including his security chief/piano player Rawhide, played by Clancy Brown. To top it off, they kidnap Penny Pretty to use her for leverage, not realizing that Dr. Hikita had given her the overthruster to keep safe in her purse. Dr. Lizardo tells Buckaroo if he wants to save Penny, he must come alone to the Red Lectroid headquarters at Yoyodyne Industries and bring the overthruster.
All seems lost.
All seems lost, but I'm sure Buckaroo can figure something out. We've got these three alien henchmen, and boy, are they something. Making his second appearance on the pod in a very short time span, Vincent Schiavelli.
Yes.
As which John is he? Do we know? John O'Connor, so he gets a pretty normal name. Dan Hedaya is John Gomez. Dan Hedaya, another one of those guys. If you don't think you know who he is, you absolutely do. He's been just like everything. I knew him mostly from The Usual Suspects. He's a cop in there.
Okay, yeah.
But then Christopher Lloyd is John Big Booty.
Big Booty.
Who is, like we said, the secondary villain of the movie, more or less. And this is like a Megatron and Starscream kind of situation between him and Worfen, right? You got that vibe that he maybe wants a little more power?
Yeah, he's the second in command. He's not a real big fan of the big boss. He kind of lords it over the other two guys, pushes them around. So you feel that tension that he'd rather be in charge. And man, what a group. The cast just keeps getting deeper and deeper. To be able to cast a whole trio of aliens, they're all character actors, but they're star-level character actors.
Right, they're the top shelf of character actors.
Yeah, and they're doing basically like a Three Stooges trio that they form. It's really a top-notch trio and elevates the movie because they're acting in these kind of low-budget looking alien costumes for half their time on screen, but they just make it work. It's really good.
Yeah, and I mean, even I would say Clancy Brown has become one of the top character actors in Hollywood. But if I'd seen this movie in 1984, I would have assumed he'd go on to be a leading man, like an A-list leading man star. And also, if I'd seen this movie at a more formative time in my life, I probably would have been bisexual because young Clancy Brown is like the handsomest man I've ever seen.
He's so charismatic.
What is going on? This is his second movie ever.
Really?
And he just commands the screen like nobody's business.
He's such a dude in this. We had him on The Zone early on in Shawshank where he plays the ultimate asshole.
I think that's his iconic role. Most people know him as...
What was his name? The captain of the guards.
Captain Hadley, who's a real piece of shit. Used to be.
He's the one that almost throws Andy off the roof and then he offers to do his taxes. So he's like a major asshole.
We had him in Starship Troopers too. He was an asshole in that too.
Oh, right. He was the evil drill sergeant who was breaking people's arms and shit. And then you see him in this and you're like, I love that guy. I want him to be in my club. He's the most wholesome of the Cavaliers. He's the tallest. He's like the most imposing, but he's also the most down to earth, right? Like all he does is be really helpful and like really competent, whereas the other guys are all bouncing off each other. They have their own idiosyncrasies. Obviously, Perfect Tommy's very self-obsessed, image obsessed, likes to complain and mouth off. And Rawhide is just the coolest dude ever.
Yeah, rips on the piano.
Which makes it really actually like painful tragedy when he gets shot with the alien poison spider thing and bites it.
Yeah, the movie never shows him dead, but like through dialogue, we can discern that he does die from that wound.
John Parker, the alien, confirms to Buckaroo that there's no antidote for this poison. So he takes a long time. He got it in the lower back and he's doing one of those cowboy movie deaths where it's like, I'll be all right. Just let me catch my breath. And ooh, my legs don't work right no more. And Perfect Tommy can't look at him. He's looking over his shoulder and you see the tears in his eyes and he looks away. It's a very painful moment. In a movie that's very silly, there's some really cool drama in there for a minute.
Yeah. Buckaroo's like, why are you sitting down? He's like, probably because I can't move my legs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that'll do it. But RIP, like if this had become a franchise, missed opportunity to have Rawhide in the sequels. Like get rid of Reno. Get rid of that guy. Who cares?
To lose Rawhide in the first one, that's a bummer.
But it's rare to see Clancy Brown play a good guy too. So that was an interesting thing. He's become very typecast as villainous authority figures throughout his career.
Sure.
Most recently in The Penguin, he was a mob boss in
Oh,
jail
okay.
with a very Italian name, which felt weird.
That may be one thing he can't pull off all that well.
Can you culturally appropriate Italians? I think that's still okay.
It seems to be something you can get away with in Hollywood.
Yeah, probably one of the last cultures you can appropriate freely and not face any scrutiny, except from Italians, but who cares? I'd like to take this moment to point out that I am indeed Italian American. I'm allowed to do this.
You're allowed. But with Rawhide's passing, that means that the torch has been passed for the only truly Western cowboy-themed guy in the Hong Kong Cavaliers is now Jeff Goldblum's Dr. Zweibel.
Party City-ass cowboy costume.
I mean,
He's a cowboy from Fort Lee. You ever been to Fort Lee, New Jersey?
Oh, what's in Fort Lee?
You have, actually. You just don't know it because it's where the fucking... All that's in Fort Lee, New Jersey is the George Washington Bridge, the other side of it. It is not a very rural area. Fort Lee is just it's very industrial. Not like a terrible area, but there's certainly no pastures.
Yeah, they don't totally explain. Like, clearly, it's a case of where Buckaroo asks Zweibel to meet them at this place and says, hey, you want to join the Cavaliers? And he's like, sure. So he dresses up in what he thinks the Cavaliers are supposed to be about for some reason, or the best outfit he has for fitting in. And right away, it's clear that like he doesn't fit in. Like the other guys are wearing these ultra hipster urban fashions with skinny ties and multiple colored belts and tailored jackets.
Perfect Tommy has a jacket that is the exact same pattern as his shirt.
That is so cool. I still love that. I still want an outfit like that.
But then I did think it was fun. And it had the vibe of a improv line where I think it's Reno is like, where are your spurs? And Goldblum's just like, what, are you making fun of me? It felt very improvised. But Goldblum's good at making scripted lines feel improvised. He's just got like a very off-kilter delivery that kind of lends itself to that. But his initial kind of, we've all been like the new person in a group of people that have been together for a long time. And he sells that kind of insecurity very well.
It's great. What a thing to have Jeff Goldblum in this relatively small role, but delivers some of the great comedy. He plays this role where he sort of eases you into understanding the Cavaliers because he's the outsider. It's day one in the Cavaliers for him. And yet he's very capable. So he does a very Jeff Goldblum character. He plays smart guy who solves a complicated problem and explains it to people in a room full of computers.
Give the aliens a virus. Wait, no.
Movie. It's like his character in Jurassic Park. It's like his character in Independence Day. It's Jeff Goldblum doing a role that would get him typecast throughout his career.
It's almost reassuring to realize that he was just always like that. Like he didn't develop a kind of character and a way of speaking to get more roles. That's just who he is.
That's
this is early in his career.
And like,
he's doing that in one of his first big roles. So it's not something that he just came up with to push himself over the edge of stardom.
What a thing. Jeff Goldblum is really, I don't know, maybe I'm making too much of his role in Hollywood, but I feel like he's like an iconic figure in popular culture. And to, at 14 years old, watch this movie and go, oh, and there's also this cool guy in it that played the funny cowboy. And like, oh, that's Jeff Goldblum. That's like a real guy that's made an impact on Hollywood for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he was in Jurassic Park and Independence Day. So he was solid gold in my book as like a teenager, because those are the movies of my youth. And then like even younger generations now, he has Thor Ragnarok, where he's an iconic character in that.
Oh, yeah.
He's the wizard in the Wicked movies, which are, whatever you think of their quality, they are some of the most popular movies in the world the last few years.
I didn't even realize he's in those. You can see that I have not tried to watch Wicked.
You've not engaged with the monoculture of Wicked?
I think I turned it on for a minute and I was just like, oh, it's not the time for me to absorb this.
We do love Cynthia Erivo from El Royale. She was great in that, but she can't do it, man. I'm not ready for another musical. It's too many musicals. Yeah, Goldblum, thumbs up to sum it up.
So we talked a little bit about the drama of Clancy Brown's character's death. Penny is tortured and comes pretty close to death in this, and that's another moment where the movie gets a little dark.
Yeah, like Ellen Barkin is going for it in these scenes. She is not trying to sell this as like lighthearted comedy. She is screaming as if her life depends on it and seems really anguished and just fearful. It's a really affecting performance.
It's kind of jarring because, no, you're right. It just struck me that there's a scene right before she's tortured where she tries to make an escape for a minute. And I forgot which one it is, but one of the very silly Three Stooges alien bad guys is chasing her down. And that guy's played almost nothing but comedy to this point. And yet she's playing genuine terrified woman trying to escape torture against him. And there's like a physical struggle that they have. And it's kind of really shifts the tone.
As he like drags her back to that table that they're going to strap her to torture her. That was the scene where I was like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And then they put this like creepy little alien on this, they have it walk very slowly towards her, which is a dumb way to kill somebody. Just put it further up the plank.
It's a James Bond villain type of thing where they're strapped in and then there's something is going to very slowly approach you and kill you. This little alien slug.
Yeah. But like adequately horrifying. The slug looks gross. I wouldn't want it to be crawling towards me.
Yeah, it was menacing.
But well acted, but maybe in the wrong movie, that performance, because it took me out of my kind of gleeful Buckaroo existence for a moment.
Yeah, and it toggles back and forth between these action scenes of the Cavaliers fighting their way and shooting guys off of catwalks, and then the Lord John Wharfen scenes of him really mugging it up, doing these outrageous Il Duce-style speeches. It's a really interesting blend of tonal pieces in that part of the movie.
Yeah, this is also where we get the line from the Black Electroids that John Wharfen is as evil as your Hitler. And I was like, I don't know if we need to throw out comparisons to Hitler in this very light-in-the-ass sci-fi comedy, but okay.
That may be a sign of the 1980s that seemed more innocuous to say, but it drives home the point, because the movie's telling you that the Black Electroids are good and pure, and certainly like John Parker, his character, played by Carl Lumbly, gets that across. You're like, oh, this is one of the good guys for sure. I like him right away. And yet they're on the edge of initiating a global nuclear war that wipes out humanity. So the only reason for them to justify that is how bad John Wharfen must really be.
Yeah, it gets the point across, but it felt a little too tied to the real tragedy for such a silly movie. But also, Carl Lumbly doesn't get a ton to do in this movie, but he's a great Dick Halloran.
Yes, loved him in, what's it called?
Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep, thank you, yeah.
And now another actor doing Dick Halloran is given a great performance in Welcome to Derry. Chris Chalk is absolutely killing it.
You mentioned him to me. I have not seen that yet, but I really loved Carl in Dr. Sleep. I was like, holy shit, they recreated Halloran. And
he looks so much like Scatman Crothers in that movie. Chris Chalk is not trying to do like an impression or anything. It's definitely his own take on the character. But yeah, the Scatman Crothers to Carl Lumbly is like such a great casting choice.
It's so good. I mean, here's another guy in Carl Lumbly that decades earlier is unrecognizable. He's got long dreadlocks and a mustache, and he's got a very thick Rastafarian way of speaking. And he does all that really great. Like, he inhabits that character.
I definitely had to go back when I was looking through the cast. I was like, who the fuck was Carl Lumbly in this? But he's John Parker. And speaking of John, the moment where they figure out something's amiss is when they discover that all the aliens first applied for Social Security cards on the same day in the same town, and also have the first name John. But I did pause the screen when they were going through all of their names. There are some funny ones. Obviously, there's John Big Booty, the Christopher Lloyd character. But some of my other faves I wanted to shout out here. John Thorny Stick.
Ooh, good one.
John Repeat Dance. John Little John.
Nice.
It was like John Smallberries was another one too.
John Smallberries was the one that the Secretary of Defense reads that name off the name tag of the guard at the booth when he's crashing Yoyodyne propulsion systems. And the way that actor says that name made that one my favorite. It's so hilarious.
They didn't even bother trying to make them look real, because John Repeat Dance, like repeat and dance are two separate words. It's not like they combined it into one word.
The absurdism of mixing the normal names like O'Connor in with things that are totally absurd is great.
Yeah, it's they don't dwell on it at all. They move on from it pretty quickly. So it's a little more overt than some of the other stuff we pointed out, like the trumpet. But it's another example of the movie not giving you a break to appreciate its humor and just moving on. And if you got it, great. And if not, that's fine too.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little insight into the minds of these aliens and how they think.
It's just very confident writing and directing to move on from these very funny jokes so fast. And I think this was the section with the watermelon too. Or it might have been an early Act 3.
No, you're right. It's in Act 2 because I thought that was in Yoyodyne. That's in the Banzai Institute.
Right.
That's one of Buckaroo's experiments.
There's a big watermelon strapped into this vise, and they're doing experiments on it clearly. And I think it was New Jersey, right? Asks one of the other...
He asked Reno, Nevada.
He asked Reno, what's up with the watermelon? He's like, I'll tell you later. And now there is some debate about whether that was really included just to test if John Bagelman was really, or was it David Bagelman?
Oh yeah, the hated producer, the guy they all didn't like.
Yeah, the producer they were beefing with. So they threw that in to see if he was still paying attention. When he didn't give a note on it, they knew they were in the clear. But you had another background for that line, right?
Yeah, in one of those clips where the actor who plays Reno, Pepe Serna, if I have his name right, says he's like, that was a Jeff Goldblum ad lib because he was trained in the Meisner method of acting, in which actors carefully observe everything in their surroundings. And so he just commented on that. And that was just like a weird thing that the set decorator had put there to make Buckaroo's laboratory more quirky. So that's a nice nod to give Goldblum credit for it. And a lot of the movie, a lot of the lines the director does say were improvised in this movie, but it's hard to know who's really got the real story histories.
I don't feel like it has to be one or the other, because it could have been that Goldblum said that line, but then they included it in the edits, the dailies they were sending as a way to test if
that's true.
Bagelman was still paying attention. So both could be true, and it just could be different perspectives.
That kind of works. And it's another really funny line. It's in the middle of a chase scene where these guys are just prowling the halls looking for the bad guys with guns out. And it's one of the subtle pieces of humor that you can really laugh at once you've got your footing in the movie.
I also love how everybody just has guns, like all these rock stars, scientists / Goldblum gives Buckaroo a gun. I think it's in the third act, but it doesn't matter for the point of the story. And Buckaroo's, what are you going to use? And he just pulls out another gun. I was like, hell yeah.
But that's part of why this movie was such like bait for a teenage boy like me. The first time seeing it is like these cool dudes, they're rock stars, they're in costumes, and they all just have guns. And it's a mix of Uzis and pistols and old timey Army
Old six-shooters.
six-shooters. It's just like young boy shit. And I was like so taken by it.
This is absolutely a movie written by and for 12-year-old boys. And I know he wasn't 12 when he wrote it, but he really got into that mindset.
Yeah, it really works.
All right, you ready to take us home?
Okay, here we go. As the U.S. president prepares for an imminent nuclear showdown with Russia, Buckaroo shows up at the Red Electroid's hideout that's been doing business disguised as a defense contractor called Yo-Yo-Dyne Propulsion Systems. Buckaroo gives himself up, but when they realize he didn't bring the overthruster, Lizardo straps him into an electric torture device. But soon, the Hong Kong Cavaliers begin their assault on the factory, setting off alarms. In the resulting panic, Buckaroo frees himself and goes to rescue Penny, who's been tortured, and hovers on the edge of death. Unfortunately, Buckaroo has to leave Penny with Dr. Zweibel so he can go deal with Lizardo. Lacking Banzai's successful overthruster, the Red Electroid's leader is going to try to fly his mothership into the 8th dimension using his own inferior version of the device. As he prepares for launch, Buckaroo and the Black Electroid John Parker stow away inside the big ship's thermal pod. But Lizardo's overthruster doesn't work, and he simply smashes through the wall of the building and flies out into the skies over New Jersey. Lizardo ejects Buckaroo's thermal pod, but Buckaroo, being a talented pilot, he quickly learns to fly the pod and operate its laser cannon. Buckaroo then chases down Lizardo's mothership and blasts him and the other Red Electroids to smithereens. With the threat eliminated, the Black Electroids stand down from their nuclear incitement, and the world is saved. So Buckaroo parachutes back to Earth, only to find that Penny has died. But as Banzai bends to kiss Penny, a final spark from the Black Electroid's electrical field passes between their lips, and it brings her back to life. Fade to black as Penny and Buckaroo fall into each other's arms and kiss.
A lot less plotty than the other acts of the movie. It's really just one big climactic action sequence.
Yeah, it's all rolling downhill.
But it works, relatively thrilling. Again, like, this is the moments where you feel the movie's budget pushing against it. A lot of cheesy effects in this, but they fit the tone and the world that the movie's kind of established, so it doesn't feel out of place.
Yeah, these are some really slovenly aliens, so the fact that their factory is just like a jumble of shit is on purpose, but it also suits not having the biggest budget to make a really deluxe alien landscape.
The Secretary of Defense chastises them, says, "Don't you have any pride? Look at this pigsty." That's where John Big Booty
Bigfoot Tay! Tay! Tay!
picks him up by his necktie. It's a very strong necktie, and says, "It's not my planet, monkey boy."
Another great quotable line.
Good stuff. I guess you deciphered that monkey boy is what they call humans, the Red Electroids.
Yes. When you first hear Lizardo/Worfen say it at the beginning, you think it's like a clever insult that he came up with. But then when the other guys use it, and then there's one point where it comes over the PA that says monkey boys have infiltrated the compound, it seems to be just a general term they use for us.
You also didn't note it in the synopsis, but this is also the section of the movie where Big Booty gets fucking clapped up. My man gets shot to shit by Lizardo. He just turns the gat on him.
Yeah, it's a great resolution. You talked about there was that tension between the head honcho and the second in command, and it boils over at the very end. Supposedly that's another Christopher Lloyd improv when Orphan chews him out and then turns his back, and then Big Booty just gives him the middle finger, which is another great laugh line. But it's all so chaotic. Like, I couldn't laugh at these things. There's a bunch of jokes in that action sequence the whole time through the factory. There's all kinds of there's a bunch of little things. So on my second watch through, I was laughing so much more, especially in this last sequence.
Lithgow and Lloyd going at it. It's a dream for like anyone who grew up in the 80s and 90s. Like, these are two top-notch comedic actors, and comedic in the same way, like kind of curmudgeonly and eccentric. Their showdown is just worth the wait.
It's really good. And another place where there's a bunch of comedy that I didn't appreciate at first was in the scenes with the president. So the U.S. president has back trouble.
What's wrong with him? Yeah, he's got back trouble.
Yeah, he's in some kind of traction device that rotates him around, and he's got his advisors around him. That's also very subtle. Like, that guy is really funny. He has some really funny lines, but they're so deadpan too. I didn't even catch them. And funny enough, when I looked him up to say, who is this funny actor? Ronald Lacey, who played the U.S. president. He plays Major Tote, the Gestapo guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the one who picks up the amulet and gets a burn scar on his hand, and his head famously melts in the final scene. And he looks nothing like him.
No, I would not have guessed.
It's a total transformation with just a mustache and a haircut, but really funny as the president. He has this one joke where Buckaroo has just explained everything to him on video chat, and he goes, "This is very difficult to understand. Aliens, nuclear threats, a girl named John." Because the Black Electroid's leader is also named John, but she's a woman. She's the only alien woman we've seen, but he just slips that in, and I never even heard that before until the last time through, and it got me laughing.
Almost like a Bill Murray line delivery there, just like throwing the absurd part in as a random throwaway. Really good stuff. Even just the name of the company, Yo-Yo-Dyne, is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun to say. And then the movie ends anticlimactically, but that seems to be the point, with another famous line that I didn't realize was from this movie.
So what? Big deal.
Which, does it really make sense in the context? I don't know. maybe.
It kind of doesn't. That line is said, it's confusing because John Emdahl, who is a woman when she's in human form, played by a female actress, Rosalind Cash, when she's in alien form, she speaks in a man's voice. And I don't know who that actor is, but it has a deep voice. And that's the voice that says that line at the end of the film.
It's not even clear what she's referring to with that one. It's just,
yeah, don't get worked up over a sexy movie kiss or like, I don't know, but it's funny.
It stands out, but it's a little nonsensical in a fun way.
You said to me that a lot of the jokes in this film feel like jokes that your kids make.
Yeah.
Where they don't quite make sense, but they're still charming and funny. That's definitely one of them that's like just a dumb thing that a person would come on screen and say that would make the kids laugh. It made us laugh too, but we don't know why.
Yeah, like several times a week, my daughter will come up to me and be like, Dad, what? And she'll say a joke that I'm like, I don't get it, but you're so excited to be telling me this joke that I think it's great. And I'm going to laugh anyway. And that's, I get that vibe from a few scenes in this movie. You're really excited to show me this. So you know what? I'm happy to.
It's just charming. It wins you over.
And then there's a pretty cool end credits. I watched it on Tubi, and Tubi loves to not let you watch the end credits by taking up your screen with a bunch of bullshit. But you can, if you click back on the thing, it'll show you the credits, and it's worth watching them in this movie.
It's like a music video that they just shot for the credits.
Yeah, like a music video. Because I was like, I don't want to leave this world yet, because the world I live in, to quote Laura Dern, is not quite that charming.
And, you know, reportedly, Billy Vera says that they signed them up for a 5-picture deal because they were trying to do sequels to this. And there's a title card at the end that says, stay tuned for the next adventure. And it names it. And then it goes into this whole thing with them just doing this sort of strutting dance sequence in an empty dam that's like the LA River Dam area somewhere to the north of LA. But I was like, as franchise starters go, that's a much cooler way to do it than just doing a shawarma scene in the post-credits. You're just reveling, you're bringing back all your characters on screen, and you're just enjoying how cool and fun they were. Like, it's a really neat way to close a movie.
It feels tonally appropriate too with the movie we just watched.
Yeah.
It all works.
And you get more of that fun 80s synthesizer music. Reportedly, that hadn't been written when they shot this. They were choreographed to Uptown Girl by Billy Joel.
I did read that.
And then the composer replaced it with a new song with the same tempo.
80s Motown, Billy Joel sucks. If you remember from Step Brothers. Famous line. Buckaroo Banzai. That's a banger.
Yeah.
I don't like to rate the movies on Letterboxd before the episode comes out because I don't want people to get spoiled.
Sure.
But at least a 3.5 out of 5, maybe 4.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You want to hear where some of these people, where some of them went after this?
For sure. There's a lot of them. Let's try to track them down.
Yeah, I only did a handful.
Yeah, it's fair.
People like Clancy Brown, we've covered a lot. We don't need to catch people
That's
up on
true.
them. So this was W.D. Richter's directorial debut. Before this, like I mentioned, he'd been a prolific screenwriter. I mentioned Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's a classic, but also Brubaker and Hard Feelings.
Okay.
And then he would write Big Trouble in Little China in 86. He would only direct one more movie, which was 1991's Peter Berg starring Late for Dinner. Peter Berg was starring in movies in 1991. I did not realize he was that old.
That's really interesting.
Our boy. Like, wasn't like 2 of the first 10 movies we covered Peter Berg movie?
Yeah, we have a real love-hate relationship with Peter Berg on this pod.
Hate his personality and most of his movies. Love being mean to him while we talk about his movies.
I'm looking for pictures of him. Wow, he really was young in that.
He was a bit of a babe when he was younger. I remember him from the Great White Hype was when I first noticed him.
Okay.
That must have been 95-ish. But yeah, I could have seen him being pegged as like another leading man in waiting.
Totally.
Instead, he has bit roles in Taylor Sheridan shows now. Fuck Peter Berg. Sorry. And then Richter, allegedly, I don't know. Richter would also write future episode 2005 Stealth about a stealth bomber that goes rogue and gets a mind of its own.
Interesting. Okay.
Could be a fun episode considering AI and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that was a huge bomb. I think that was like a 9-figure bomb. So might have to take a look at that one someday. Written by Earl Mac Rausch. Rausch had started as a novelist with the books Dirty Pictures from the Prom and Arkansas Adios. That's a great name for a book. Before writing both a novel and screenplay for the infamous 1997 Martin Scorsese bomb, New York, New York.
Oh.
With Liza Minnelli. Yeah, that almost ruined Scorsese's career.
It's too bad to get hooked up with Scorsese and then for it to be that movie.
Like he couldn't do one of the good ones. I've never seen New York, New York. I don't know if it is good, but it is certainly not well regarded. Then he wrote 1982's A Stranger's Watching. He would also write the novelization for Buckaroo Banzai in addition to the screenplay. Then he wrote Wired in 1989 and seemed to leave Hollywood behind at that point. Though, like we mentioned, he did write a Buckaroo Banzai standalone novel in 2021 called Buckaroo Banzai Against the World Crime League.
Oh, yeah. That's the name of the movie they tease at the end of this one.
I might try to pick that up. I'd be interested to see what they do with the old Buckaroo.
I'm curious about it. Yeah. I might have to at least sample it to see if that's readable or is it just some slop to kind of pay the bills all these years later.
Cash in, yeah. So let's talk about Peter Weller. Interesting dude. He'd been acting since the early 70s, mostly in TV movies. His breakout film role, I guess, is considered to be 1982's Shoot the Moon with Diane Keaton and Albert Finney. Never seen it. And of course, he's most famous as the titular RoboCop.
Sure.
Played him in both the 87 original and the 1990 sequel. He's great as RoboCop.
Yeah, he's disturbing.
Yeah. It's a fucked up movie.
That's a fucked up movie. Verhoeven is good at disturbing people. But yes, Weller is perfectly cast in that to be like troubled cop and an even more troubled robot.
I just remember the scene where he gets shot in the first one. As I thought RoboCop was like appropriate for children when I was like 5 or 6. And it was just, I watched that scene and was traumatized for a while.
Yeah, that's traumatic.
He gets shot like 1,000 times in that scene.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to watch that movie until my 40s. So I don't know what you were doing as a kid.
I've never gone back to it. I even had a little toy of the whatever the evil robot is at the end with the shitty stop motion animation.
Yes.
I had that toy. So like my mom clearly thought RoboCop was okay for kids, but it definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, the designs were pretty cool for toys and action figures. But
why are they even making toys out of this hard R science fiction
just
dystopian
Hollywood,
apocalypse movie?
They got to cash in wherever they can.
All right. Some of his other notable film roles are Naked Lunch, Mighty Aphrodite, and Star Trek Into Darkness.
Okay.
He's been very active as a TV actor as well. He's been in Odyssey 5, Star Trek Enterprise, Dexter, Sons of Anarchy, and The Last Ship. But his most prolific work has been as a director of TV. He's been very successful as a TV director in his later years.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's directed several episodes of shows like Homicide, Life on the Streets, the reboot of Hawaii Five-0, Under the Dome, The Strain. Remember The Strain?
Yeah.
And he even directed an episode called Noblesse Oblige from season 6 of a little show called Justified.
Oh, damn.
And that is a very late in the game Justified crossover of the week.
Justified crossover of the week.
Man, you had that in your back pocket the whole time.
It was tough. It was tough to keep it and not show my cards, but I had to.
Nice one. I did not think we were getting one.
I didn't
would have bet.
Although, like, it's weird to me that Clancy Brown was never on Justified, too.
That's true. He definitely should have been.
He's got real Justified energy to me. I don't think I have to explain to people who John Lithgow is.
I hope not.
Beloved weirdo, 6-time Emmy winner, 2-time Golden Globe winner, 2-time Oscar nominee in back-to-back years, no less. Before this, actually, in the early 80s.
Was that for like Garp? No, that couldn't have been before this.
Am I talking out of my butt?
I'm just guessing World According to Garp because that was the movie where I think I first noticed John Lithgow.
No, World According to Garp was 83.
Wow.
And that was when he was first nominated for, and then the next year for Terms of Endearment, both for Best Supporting Actor.
Cool. What a way to come on the scene, man.
And then I always knew him mostly from Third Rock from the Sun growing up. That was the show that was popular when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Playing another alien.
There you go. Yeah, he had practice.
He had a big renaissance. He was great. I think it was season 3 of Dexter as the Trinity Killer. It was a great role.
Yes, I forgot about that. I was into Dexter at that time. And
he was, that was the apex of Dexter, I think, was his season.
Everybody was very excited about him that season, I remember.
And now he's going to be Dumbledore on the new Harry Potter series.
Oh, no. He stumbled.
Yeah. He explained that this is probably going to be one of my last roles, and I want to leave my family a lot of money when I die. So
what can you say?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in that show that I like and respect, unfortunately. Andy Greenwald.
Yeah, it's funny. Our perspective as hardcore Twitter users is probably different than the bulk
of
world.
Yeah.
The wider world. Their understanding of J.K. Rowling, her politics, her activism, and her cruelty as we perceive it. And a lot of people are just not aware of that.
Or at least not aware to the degree.
Yeah.
To how obsessed she is, allegedly, with silencing trans voices.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Maybe we cut some of this because I don't want to get sued.
I know. Those British laws, do they apply to us? Are we still part of the Commonwealth?
He's going to be on Harry Potter. Great for him.
Yay.
Use that one instead. It's great. We didn't have any side conversations after that about complicated things that we decided to cut for legal reasons. Let's talk about Ellen Barkin. Her breakout role came 2 years before this in Diner.
Oh, okay.
I'm aware of, but I've never seen. Have you ever seen Diner?
I'm trying to think. Is that with, what's his name from Aliens?
There's definitely a dude in there. Michael Bean, are you thinking of? Or Paul Reiser?
I think Paul Reiser. Is he in Diner? Or maybe
it's tough to find the Wikipedia page for the movie Diner because you just search Diner and a lot of stuff comes up. No, you went for the classic fake out. It's Gutenberg.
No, wait, maybe it's both. I'm looking at a preferred.
Oh, yeah, Paul Reiser. But he's 8th build. How'd you pull that one?
I don't know. It's something that stuck in my head as a child. And I was like, Diner? Yeah, Paul Reiser. I never saw it.
Gutenberg is top build. Mickey Rourke. Wow, what a cast.
It's a big bunch of dudes. Yeah. Kevin Bacon.
Daniel Stern. What's going on with Daniel Stern? Is he cool?
I don't know. I don't want him invading my house over Christmas. I'll tell you that much.
Man, those dudes would have died so many times. Daniel Stern I hope he's cool. Like, he's one of those guys that I just want to be a decent dude. There's no controversy section of his Wikipedia page, so I think he's okay.
And he looks like Clancy Brown, too. They could trade roles.
don't think he's quite as hunky. Even
Maybe not.
Yeah. And then, so Ellen Barkin, we got.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
We're very changing today.
We're talking about Ellen. She is the top billed woman in that film.
Yeah. But it's like still sixth down or something. Who knew diners were such melting pots for dudes?
I'm curious to see that movie now, not to extend our tangent.
That's all right. We're only hurting ourselves. But she stayed busy. She was in The Big Easy, Sea of Love, This Boy's Life. She was in previous episode, The Fan. I can't really place her in that, but was that his ex-wife?
Maybe. I forgot now, but
it had to be. There wasn't that many roles in that movie. It was pretty small cat. Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is a very funny satire. Ocean's 13, like we mentioned. And she's also been active on TV with roles in The New Normal. She got a lot of accolades for her role in Animal Kingdom, which is a show I've been interested in checking out, but have not yet.
Okay.
She plays like a crime family matriarch in that. And Poker Face, which is now done, but also coming back.
Yes.
Like the Natasha Lyonne version of that is done, but Ryan Johnson wants to bring it back with Peter Dinklage, which sounds cool. I liked it with Natasha Lyonne. I'd probably like it with Peter Dinklage too.
That was almost like an anthology. Like each episode was its own self-contained story.
Yeah,
so I
more or
imagine
less.
Ellen Barkin was just in one of those stories.
That was the thing. So many shows are serialized now that it's tough to get big stars to sign on for smaller roles because they don't want to commit that much time. So when you're doing a story of the week, you can get a lot of big name stars to pop up here and there. And that was a big part of the draw of Poker Face, I think. So I hope they stick to that formula if they continue.
Yeah, I didn't get super into the show, but I really like that aesthetic of it, bringing back the Star of the Week, Story of the Week vibe.
Ian, should we tell the listeners what we're going to be covering for our first week of our 2025 retrospective, or should we keep it a secret?
That's a good question. We should definitely wish everybody a very happy holidays because we're not going to be back until January. Right. And then that's when we do our year in review.
Yeah, we're trying to bring you guys a episode every Wednesday for the month of January. So we're going to take some extra time to prep and get ready because with travel and the holidays, it is tough to get those recordings done. So
it is.
We want to give ourselves a little bit of a cushion. So apologize for the wait, but it'll be worth it. We promise.
It's one of the most fun times of the year because we try to pick some of the really big, noteworthy bombs, movies that were either really interesting or really splashy for how hard they bombed. And they're all still fresh in everybody's mind. So I feel like it's one of the times when we get to be most topical and fresh.
Yeah, and this year had quite a few to choose from. A lot of great movies that didn't quite make back their budget this year. So we had our pick of the litter. And we're not going to spoil the actual movies, but I will say we're going more or less pretty positive.
Yes.
Movies that we liked or think we will like, but didn't make enough money. So
that's kind of in contrast to last January, which was about some big stinkers, right?
Fucking Borderlands.
Megalopolis.
I'm waiting for that documentary, though. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I almost like Hearts of Darkness more than Apocalypse Now at this point.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder if I'll end up liking the Megalopolis documentary because that's a much lower bar than Apocalypse Now. So I could see that happening. We did Madam Web last year, too.
That's right. Yeah, really. That was a stinky January.
We really tortured ourselves.
We're turning a page. This time we're going to have a lot to praise about these movies.
Stay tuned for that. That'll be fun. You can follow us on Twitter at BlastZonePod, Blue Sky, BlastZonePod, Blue Sky. Whatever.
Whatever.
You can email us if you have any questions, comments, movie suggestions, want to talk about movies at all. BlastZonePod@gmail.com. Love to hear from you there.
Yeah, hit us up.
And we'll see you next time in the Blast Zone.
See you next time in the Blast Zone.
The Blast Zone.